Jackson back with you at Song Mentor, and today's rockin' selection is Chuck Berry's No Particular Place to Go. I was a little surprised when I researched this that it was recorded and released in 1964. It has the sound and the feel of an earlier song, which it literally does. His earlier song, School Days, this is basically a reincarnation of that song, but with a little bit of a different theme. It's been covered by lots of great artists, George Thorogood and the Destroyers, the Trogs. Just a great tune. Here's the iconic Chuck Berry's No Particular Place to Go. Okay, well, anytime you include a Chuck Berry song in a list of great songs, the principal reason is for the classic riffing. I mean, that's what this song is all about. It's not an absolutely essential piece of writing in terms of subject matter or arrangement or anything like that, but the riffing is groundbreaking in some cases, and so in part of the history of rock and roll. So when we talk about the riffing in this song, that's really where it's at. It's not necessarily difficult riffing, but legendary riffing. Let's put it that way. So as far as chords go, the opening chord of the song is a kind of a D-augmented chord, and I'll show you what to do with that one. You're going to make an A minor shape with your first three fingers. Just imagine playing an open A minor chord down here. Now move it up one string, okay, so that your first finger is on the first fret of the first string instead of the second string on the F note. And so move everything up one string, and then take that and slide it all the way up so that your first finger is on the 10th fret. Then your second and third fingers are on the 11th fret of the second and third strings, and then you're just going to take your pinky and add it to the 12th fret of the fourth string. So you've got 10, 11 and 11, the second and third, and then on the fourth string you've got your pinky on the 12th fret. Sound familiar? That's the chord you need for the intro to this song. There's a little bit of debate about whether to attack this with all downstrokes or whether to strum back and forth. I kind of prefer like the attacking it with... you got to be pretty fast with that to do that because the song is up tempo for sure. I kind of prefer the... But you take your pick there, however you choose to approach that opening chord. The only other three chords in the song are part of that 12-bar blues progression. The song is in G, so we're playing a G5 here. Okay, and all we're doing there is just that's 3rd fret, 6th string, 5th fret, 5th string, and we add the pinky on and off the 7th fret of the 5th string. That's our root chord, the 1 chord in the 1-4-5 of a 12-bar blues. The 4 chord is a C5, and then back to the 1 chord, and then the 5 chord is the D5, and then back to the 1 chord again. Now what I'm going to suggest here is that because this is such a tough span, and it's a tough span for me, it's a tough span for most guitar players, if you've got really huge hands and you can really spread that, it's not so bad. But to do it continually for a whole song, it wears down. I mean, it's worth playing if you believe that you want to practice that and increase your dexterity that way. If you want to save your hands a little bit, play the 1 chord here. There's no getting around that. When you go to the 5 chord, or the 4 chord rather, just come up so that your first finger's now on the 8th fret. Much easier to play that than down here, starting on that 5th string. This is much easier. And then your 5 chord becomes just up here 2 more frets, so that your 4 fingers on the 10th fret of the 6th string. Now, as long as you don't have intonation problems with your neck and your guitar, because that can sound a little sour sometimes, that's to me would be the only reason to justify playing it down here, would be if it sounds sweeter down here and doesn't sound quite right up here. If you've got a good guitar and it's intonated properly, particular place to go. Okay, so let's play through that opening sequence once, through a verse, just so you get the idea of the 12-bar blues progression. Riding along in my automobile, my baby beside me at the wheel. I stole a kiss at the turn of a mile, my curiosity running wild. Cruising and playing the radio, with no particular place to go. All right, well, the verse work in this song is pretty straightforward. It follows that 1-4-5 pattern for blues, and as demonstrated there, pretty easy to follow. But what he does do is inserts the riffs into that pattern. And there are two riffs. I'm going to show them both to you. The first one we'll call riff 1 and then riff 2. Here's riff 1. So we're going to start with our second finger on the 4th fret of the 2nd string, our third finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. And we're going to slide that up 2 frets so we end up at 6 and 7. Do that twice. And then we use our first finger as a bar, and we're going to go from barring strings 3 and 2 at the 5th fret to strings 3 and 2 at the 3rd fret. So, and then the last note of the riff is the 5th fret of the 4th string, and I'm using my 3rd finger for that. So let's take a nice slow look at that. Okay, that's riff number 1. Riff number 2 is actually easier. It ends exactly the same way, just the intro of it is a little bit different, slightly different timing as well. We're just going to take our first finger and bar at the 3rd fret, the 2nd and 1st strings. And we're going to hit that twice like that. And then finish the same way we finished riff 1. Except this time, because the positioning here, I'm using my 3rd finger to bar at the 5th fret, and my 1st finger to bar at the 3rd fret, and finishes again on that 5th fret of the 4th string. So riff number 1, riff number 2. Okay, now let's take a look at how we put those in to the 12-bar blues progression. All right, here's how Chuck Berry arranged this. Keeping in mind that there are 6 spots to fill in this 12-bar blues progression. Right there, that's 1. That's 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. Okay, so here's how we're going to fill. So with the G chord, we're going to use riff number 1 twice. Okay, and then play the G again, play riff number 1 again. Then, when we switch up to the C chord, we're going to play riff number 2. And we're going to play that twice with the C and then with the G again. Then we're going to finish up by playing riff number 1 again twice. So it's twice on riff number 1, twice on riff number 2, and finish up with twice back to riff number 1. And the interesting thing with verse number 2 is he just switches it around. He plays riff number 2 twice at the beginning, then plays riff number 1 twice, and finishes with riff number 2 twice. So he just kind of reverses it. So as we do this playthrough of the first 2 verses, just keep in mind where we're going. I'll put it on the screen anyway for you, and that'll help you out. Okay, let's play through that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Riding along in my automobile, my baby beside me at the wheel. I stole a kiss at the turn of a mile, my curiosity running wild. Cruising and playing the radio, with no particular place to go. Riding along in my automobile, I'm anxious to tell her the way I feel. So I told her softly and sincere. She leaned and whispered in my ear, cuddling more and driving slow, with no particular place to go. All right, two things left to show you. And the first thing I'm going to show you is the first guitar solo. We're going to break that down into pieces, and then we'll show you the ending of the song. So the first guitar solo, now the solo actually takes off on the final 4 beats of the last of the 6 8-beat bars. So if we consider this 8 beats, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The solo actually comes in, it comes in right away after that last. Comes in right away there, and you'll see that and hear it as you listen along to the original version if you can grab it. But the first section of the guitar solo I'm going to show you is just basically form a D chord, and then slide it up so that the 2 fingers that are in the D chord, the 1 and 2 fingers, are on the 7th fret, and the 3rd finger's on the 8th fret. And we're going to slide that up and vibrato it as much as possible, but also hammer it, like really pick down on it. Okay, that's the whole first section, and I'll just do that for you slowly again. Okay, and then the second bit of the solo, we take our 2nd finger and slide it up to the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and our 3rd finger slides up to the 9th fret of the 3rd string. Typically we slide up 2 frets, so we can go from 6 and 7 to 8 and 9. Okay. And then the next bit is, so there we're barring with our 1st finger the 3rd and 2nd strings at the 7th fret for 3 strokes, and then at the 5th fret for 3 strokes, and then down to the same formation we had up here, where our 2nd finger is now on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and our 3rd finger on the 4th fret of the 3rd string. So that whole bit. Okay, let's review so far. Okay, the next bit is a riff that we play 3 times, vary it a little bit the 3rd time, but it's this one. And that's just sliding up to 6 and 7 on the 2nd and 3rd strings, and then bar 5, bar 3, finish up with 2 hits on the 5th fret of the 4th string. Play it again, and then the 3rd time's just a little bit different. So again, that section. Okay, now let's put the first 3 bits of the solo together. Okay, and that brings us to the final bit of the solo, and I'm going to take my my 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, and my pinky on the 6th fret of the 1st string, and I'm just going to bend that 3rd finger about a half bend. Keep my pinky down solid and bend the 3rd finger up just a half a bend. And then we follow up with this little riff we used earlier in the song. So. And that's just following down again that pattern with, like we finished before. So you're bending. And that's the last bit of the solo. So the whole solo in slow motion here. Okay, we'll have some fun with that solo if you've got a backing track of 12-bar blues in G, or else just have a friend. Go through the 12-bar progression for you. I want to talk now about the ending of the song, and it comes out of the end of the 12-bar blues, so we're going off of... So we go to the 5 chord, which is the D5, then the C5, and then one hit on the G. So dum dum dum, and then we come to the ending. We're going to do that and then finish with... I'll show you what this is. We're starting with our second finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string and our 3rd finger on the 8th fret of the 5th string. In between, I can drag my 3rd finger over top of the 4th string to mute it. So it's not going to sound. Just the 5 and 3 strings are going to sound. 4th string is muted. Okay, so we're going to do that. Half step down each time. So we're going to go from 7 and 8 to 6 and 7 to 5 and 6 to 4 and 5. Of course, when I'm picking through here, I'm just picking on 5, 4, and 3, with 4 being muted. And all I'm doing there is just going down from an A flat bar to a G5, A flat 5 if you like, to a G5. So again, the ending. All right, fine tuning for No Particular Place to Go. Well, a simple rock and roll song about a simple story, driving around in a car with a girl. That's what life was. You know, a lot of what teenagers enjoyed in those days was pretty simple, based on that kind of lifestyle. Kind of cool. And the riffs are simple, but that doesn't mean they're easy to play cleanly. So some of these legendary riffs that Chuck Berry borrowed and/or invented and gave to rock and roll, you need to practice them to get them so you can play them quickly, because they're kind of choppy and electric and rushed and frenzied, but also cleanly. All right, there you go. No Particular Place to Go, Mr. Chuck Berry on Song Mentor. We'll see you next time.